My name is Jenny Irvine. I'm the co-founder of Raise Ventures. You're all very welcome. We're just getting set up and organised at the moment, and we'll just want to do a quick introduction and say hello to everybody. We're actually based in our Belfast offices here in Cathedral Quarter in a lovely street called Commercial Court, which is the hub of Belfast with all the pubs nearby. We have some of our startups and some of our ecosystem here in the room, albeit a snowy day, so a lot of people are dialing in online, so you're all very welcome. Thanks so much for taking the time out tonight to listen to some great startup pitches. At Raise Ventures, what we do is we're a startup accelerator. We help early stage tech startups build, accelerate, go to market and look for investment. But the core of our kind of journey came from these startup connection events, whereby we tried to introduce startups to investors to start conversations, showcasing some of the good startups, not just here in Northern Ireland, but throughout the UK as well. So we've had a mixture of in-person events, a mixture of online events, and we're starting now to breach into the hybrid world of online and in person. So yeah, they're all very welcome. I'm going to pass over to Michael McDowell, my colleague from Raise, and he's going to say a quick hello and maybe introduce a couple of the startups. If you want to do maybe a quick one-liner on them each, Michael, while we're waiting.
Yep. So good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, Raise was started by doing pitching events. We always saw that there was a gap here in Northern Ireland for them, but also further afield, and people trying to get the opportunity to reach out and share their vision, share their opportunity with people. It's limited, so we try to do that where we can. And we also record these sessions as well, so we distribute and spread even wider today. So tonight we have Adrian, who's got a fintech. Well, he can explain better than I will, but it's fintech stroke PropTech company, helping people find finance for building projects. We have Chris, who's here as well with Positive Plus One, which is a fantastic enterprise to help people with HIV, so it's fantastic. We have Leanne, who's going to be talking about her AI solution for late payments, and we have Jonathan here as well. He's going to be TrustMix, which helps people find tradespeople. But to be honest, I can never do them justice at all. So what I think will probably be best is if we kick off with Adrian. He's coming all the way from Romania, and we'll find out a little bit more about his startup.
Sounds good. Should I share my screen?
You can share your screen, and I'll give you a 5-minute warning, and then 7 minutes, and then we'll have a chat at the end.
Sounds good. Can you see the screen?
Yep.
Cool. So I'll walk you through a number of items. Because of the time crunch, I'll skip pretty quickly. Actually, it's not my startup, although I would love it to be. I am the product manager at FutureBricks and also soon to be Brickway. Just a little bit about my background. I guess the key essence is that I spend time both on the corporate side for companies such as MasterCard, as well as startup side for a variety of different businesses, and most notably probably Landbay, where I help them grow their lending book from 100 million to 300 million in just 1.5 years. This is our team. You have a mixture of very senior individuals as well as junior staff members. I guess again the key takeaway from this slide is that we have quite a big team. We're ready to scale up. FutureBricks is hitting that phase, as well as kind of having already key individuals in specific departments to help us take the business to the next level. And on the tech side, we have a tech partner called Sistango. They're based in India, and they're helping us with pretty much all of the development. So to clarify a little bit the confusion between the two businesses, both of them sit under the Brickwork group. We're pretty much the same team. The business that is established today is FutureBricks, which is an alternative lending platform offering property-backed projects across the UK, or in other words, funding to SME house builders. And the Brickway business, which is a completely new venture, will be a PropTech platform facilitating property development for, again, the same SME audience. And a few more words. Brickway will be a platform that will be fully automated, seamless, and user-friendly, covering the end-to-end needs of SME house builders. The key here is the wording kind of end-to-end, because we want to capture and help nurture kind of their project all the way from site sourcing and all the way to kind of the securing of partners such as architects, builders, and so on. The platform will operate as a SaaS model, and also because we are covering kind of the end-to-end needs, later down the line, the platform will benefit greatly from powerful data mining operations, which will lead to amazing insights both for our business as well as potential kind of market trends and knowledge. These are the 4 areas. So when I say end-to-end, we talk specifically about site sourcing, project viability assessment, financing, and expertise matchmaking. Site sourcing, pretty much straightforward, will be all about helping those SME house builders find, analyze, and source both on and off market site opportunities. There's already people doing this in the market, so rather than reinventing the wheel, we plan to partner with one of them. And the goal would be to capture interest very early on in the property development lifecycle. Here's a few kind of screenshots of our functional wireframing. We will operate only in the UK. However, we didn't really spend too much time on the functional wireframe. We just chucked in, we need a map. Okay, put a picture of a map in there, just to give the technical partners an idea of what sort of functionality we need. We need a map search, we need a kind of a word search, results page, and so on. On the project viability assessment is pretty much a quick thumbs up or thumbs down on whether the project is a good idea or not. And it looks at quantitative and qualitative aspects, basically gives them an idea to the property developers, gives them an idea of whether they will find financing or whether they need areas kind of to be worked on as well. It will start with the idea of a simple calculator, looking pure at numbers and financing, and then it will add kind of market trends and market data on top of it to kind of give a more complete image. Building on that previous step, we get to the financing aspect, and based on that previous data, we will allow the SME house builders to quickly visualize a panel of lenders in terms of here's the players who could fund your deal. And this will act as a deal originator for our lending business, FutureBricks, but also give us the opportunity to earn a commission and a subscription fee from the other lenders on that panel. Expertise matchmaking, again, very straightforward, all about enabling these SME house builders find, evaluate, and hire partners for their deal, such as architects, planners, builders, and so on. Again, a few screenshots. It will be basically a very niche and dedicated marketplace for SME house building projects. In terms of pricing, as I mentioned already, it will be kind of a SaaS model. So the pricing strategy is typical under the subscription-based model, and we will be charging the property developers for some of the verticals, as well as the lenders for some of the other verticals. The key point for the technology stack, this is just a high-level diagram, is that we will focus very early on the data gathering. So the goal is every data point we give to the user, as well as every kind of key they input into our platform, we want to make a record of it so we can later build understanding algorithms on top of it, and look at those kind of market trends, look at what our customers want to do and do with our platform so we can improve. The market size, SaaS models are pretty tricky to come up with a definite figure, and you can dissect this in 100 million ways. So we did a combination of top-down and bottom-up approach, where we took the construction market on the residential side of 60 billion and combined it with what's our total addressable market in terms of customer base, which is 45,000, including developers, builders, planners, and architects. And we basically overlaid that with a rough estimate of our pricing, and we came with a conservative total immediate serviceable market size of roughly 50 million annually. in terms of where we are today, we've just finalized the design stage as of last month, and this month was spent pretty much securing resources and putting kind of everything in place for the development to start in March. We planned the first vertical site sourcing to be kind of an alpha version at the end of Q2, with more kind of verticals being added into the beta version and the public version naturally. There's also a huge scope for international expansion. There's countries out there with a much more aggressive property development market than the UK. Obviously now with the whole of the latest news over the last 2 days, who knows how that's gonna evolve. But the key takeaway is that a SaaS model is pretty easy to adapt to a new market as well. And we've identified already a range of countries, including Ireland, in terms of similarities that could help that international expansion very quickly.
Adrian,
and this is just this is just a panel of our lenders. We have Andrew McConnell, who's basically launched businesses in the real estate space in the US, and he's doing really well. Michael Williamson, who's held leadership positions in the FTSE 100 and private equity, as well as Nick Fenn, who's the co-founder and managing partner of Beachbrook Capital, where they fund small and medium-sized businesses across Northern Europe. So very solid board of advisors that we can lean on when we need kind of support. Actually, that's pretty much it. I realize I've spammed a lot of information at you, so yeah.
That's great. Well, thank you very much, Adrian. That's great. And if anyone has a question, you can drop it just down into the chat function there as well, or just stick a hand up. And then in terms of sort of early traction, do you have a sort of builders, developers, people lined up who you want to work with?
Yeah, so naturally with FutureBricks, we have access to our customer base, which is SME house builders. And we are actually, that's how we got to the idea, because we started listening to them and they said, you know, I mean, it's gonna sound cheesy, you know, we wish there were other people who did a great job in the other areas of the property lifecycle, like you do in financing. So we got to thinking, maybe there's a huge opportunity there. And we looked also at market data, and it kind of lined up. It's a great opportunity. It's still a very low tech penetration industry. And we already have a customer base we can lean on for kind of beta testing, validating our assumptions and thoughts. So we want to make sure that community is part of our product development process.
And when do you hope to launch?
So the timelines, I've mentioned them. Probably a public platform in Q1 next year with all of the 4 verticals. But in between now and then, there will be naturally a lot of kind of steps, beta testing. We want to launch each vertical one at a time, thoroughly test it, make sure it works before we move to the next.
And just one final question. Do you have any regulatory stuff that you have to be aware of? Are you straying into regulated activities?
Not at all. It's a pretty wild west out there. And on the financing side, which is kind of maybe where the question comes from, is we're just going to act as introducers to those kind of lenders. We're basically going to act as a broker on behalf of the builder.
Brilliant. Well, that's great. Well, thank you very much, Adrian. I think there's a question coming. Oh, that's the
details.
That's brilliant. Excellent. Well, thank you very much. So
thank
from
you
Romania, cheers. So from Romania to Harrogate, and I'll pass over to Chris. That's a bit more about Positive Plus One.
Hey guys, thank you for having me. So let me load up my screen. Are we good?
Yep.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Okay, so hello, my name is Christian Mercer, and I'm the founder and CEO of Positive Plus One, a dating app turned social network designed to help people living with HIV connect without stigma. 6 years ago, a friend of mine and colleagues started going AWOL from work. I did what any real friend should do, and I reached out to see if they were okay. And they disclosed to me at that point that they'd been diagnosed with HIV. I just did what a friend would naturally do, and I asked if there was any way in which I could help. He was now on medication, He was receiving in-house support from a local charity, but he was 26 years old and still wanted to meet people. I want you to think about this for a second. If you were HIV positive, how would you tell people? The truth is that due to stigma, the fear of rejection, most people in this community tend to follow the rule that it's best not to tell someone if you can never untell someone. Finding love, friendship, building any kind of relationship is a daunting task for all of us at the best of times. It's especially so for those people living with HIV. So we created a painkiller, a simple solution that alleviates all of the pain points that this community encounter. Positive Plus One is an app that's available on the Apple and Android app stores now, but it's an app that enables the HIV community to connect locally and globally. It provides a safe and secure environment where disclosure isn't even on the agenda. Our vision is to create a world where the HIV community feel connected, accepted, and supported. So, just to give you a bit of a backstory as to where we've been and where we've come from, in the very beginning, we launched a white label platform, and we saw massive global demand for it straight from the outset. I then we tested and validated this idea. I then took it to market, and I managed to raise 260,000 pre-seed investment. We used this money to protect the brand, test our marketing strategy, and began building our own bespoke app, which fortunately we managed to launch for World AIDS Day in 2020. World AIDS Day, for everyone's notebooks, is the 1st of December every single year. So we launched our bespoke version of the app. We were testing the market again, working out our cost per acquisition. Then COVID hit, and unfortunately, it didn't just affect ourselves, but it also affected our investors, and we lost 200,000 of that investment. Obviously, our forecast went out of the window, but ultimately, what I did is that we dug our heels in. I actually managed to put together a sweat equity deal with our developers, which means that we've been able to continue to develop. And we're now in the market to raise some more money to continue to scale and grow. Give you a little bit on myself. I'm from a corporate sales and marketing background. I have now been announced as the one to watch by the Global Dating Insights Powerbook, alongside the likes of Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge. Some of the big players in the game, so I'm definitely on the right track in terms of what I'm doing. Stuart Wright, on the left, there is my CFO. He's actually my accountant, who when we did the financial forecast, can I have a piece of this? Please, can I invest? Absolutely. My COO, Ellis, to the right, he's from one of the big energy companies in the UK. I actually managed to headhunt him, and the best way to describe him is if I look after the vision, he implements all of the ideas. I've got Ryan, my CTO, who is amongst one of the top full stack developers in the country, and the team that come with him, which are quality assurance engineer, head of product, and a front end developer. Two key people are my advisory board members. Simon Corbett is the CEO of Global Dating Insights. He knows everything that there is to know about this industry, and he helps me make some real intelligent decisions based upon what he knows and what he's seen in the past. Bill Alina is the chief investment officer for the Dating Group, which are one of the biggest dating groups in the world. Effectively, you've got Match Group and those kind of guys. He's helped several companies to exit. He's also IPO two dating companies. So he's a great person to have on board, because ultimately that is our end goal, to exit, to sell to someone like Match Group. We've got some great brand advocates. Some of you might recognise Gareth Thomas, the Welsh international British Lions rugby star, who came out as gay and then came out as living with HIV last year whilst doing an Ironman. These people here are outspoken people living with HIV that are advocates for our brand and help us drive new people to the platform. To give you an idea of market size, right now in the world, there are 40 million people living with HIV. 81% of that community know their HIV status, which means that the rest tend to be the people that are still spreading this virus because they don't know that they have HIV. 28 million people out of that 40 million are receiving westernized medicine, which also tells us that they've got access to internet and telephones. Last year was actually the least amount of new cases that we've seen of HIV. because most people spent a lot of time at home, but we still saw an increase of 1.5 million. Previous years, you tend to see a 1.7 to 1.8 million people newly diagnosed with HIV. All of this can be fact checked on the global, on the UNAIDS fact sheet, HIV fact sheet. To summarize, our community is still growing, but our community are no longer dying of AIDS. They are living long, full, healthy lives thanks to advancements in medication. At a 1% market share of this community, we're going to generate a significant amount of reoccurring revenue. To give you an idea of some revenue models, so at its core, we are a freemium model. It's free to download, it is free to join, it's free to chat and connect with members, and it's free to find events. If you wanted to use it for dating purposes, we have a subscription model. And there's a few examples there, but ultimately 1% market share. The industry standard for conversion from total users to paying users is 5%. More niche platforms tend to achieve about 10 to 15%. We're looking to generate an average monthly spend of £10.29. We've also, as we're growing more into the social side away from the dating element, we're effectively an ad platform. Think Facebook for the HIV community. And with that comes a lot of exciting numbers, because if you think about big pharmaceutical companies that create the medication that this community need in order to survive, these guys have massive ad spending budgets. And we've got a platform that can help them effectively speak directly to their target audience. So there's massive opportunity there. In terms of the competitors, we're situated differently. So we are an app-based platform. Obviously, mobile, the use of mobile is going up 200% year on year. We are community focused. We are not just a dating platform. We separate ourselves massively in one very key way. And that key way is that we partner with the charities and trusts that already support this community. This adds a number of benefits to our business. One, it adds instant credibility to our brand. These organizations have been around for 40 plus years, and they're saying this is a trusted platform that we effectively endorse. One thing I realized when I was going out and doing my field research and speaking to these charities was that they were always facing budget cuts. Which meant that it actually really matters to me that because what they do is so important, I still wanted to be able to give back. So we give back 10% of our proceeds. We donate that to the charities and trusts that support this community. Of course, most of you will know that charitable donations are tax deductible, but from a risk mitigation point of view, any other brands or people trying to compete in this space, we have exclusive partnerships with these charities. It's a very cheap proposition for us because they promote us internally directly to our target users, and anyone else trying to come into this space have to try and compete with that ease of access to that community.
Last minute, Chris, please.
Cool. In terms of results, we've got a few thousand members, predominantly the US. There's a full breakdown there of where you can see what we're generating. We are making money. We only turned on payment features not too long ago. Post investment, we're going to do 26,000 in the next year with a gross profit of 147,000. As this cost per acquisition comes down, you can see that as obviously as revenue goes up. We're looking for 450k. There's a breakdown there in terms of what we need to do. It's predominantly marketing and operating capital, and our exit potential is 10 million plus. We know exactly what it is that we need to, the metrics that we need to hit in order to be acquired. You can see there's proof of acquisition. I've got the people on board as part of my advisory board who effectively know exactly what we need to do in order to be acquired. It's you know, not it's a sure thing, but we're definitely on the right track for that. And ultimately, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chris. And quick initial question: when did you have the idea, and how long did it take you to get to this point?
So my friend was diagnosed about 6 years ago, and I knew nothing about the HIV community. I knew nothing about tech. I come from corporate sales and marketing. So it took me a while to actually go out, field research, desk research, and learn about this. We launched the white label platform in 2020, the summer of 2020. We then managed to launch our MVP and raise that money for the 1st of December 2020 as well. So, you know, just going on 2 years now.
Very good. So it's, I think it's always good when you see a startup which has got that really good constant progress, constant achievement, constant doing, and sort of delivering. I think execution is everything, and you're clearly showing that with the process you've had. I've just got a question here from the group. I'm asking, so you've got a very clear target market at the minute, but have you thought about expanding for other society groups who are vulnerable or in other ways isolated?
Yes, so we've actually built the platform to scale. Effectively, what we can do is we can rebrand this platform, and we can do it for other minority communities. Less than 1% of the world live with HIV. Over 19% of the world live with a disability of some kind, be that mental health or a physical disability. So yeah, we definitely thought about that.
That's great. And do you see, what are the initial hurdles that you're trying to get over at the minute? Are there any pain points that you're trying to fix?
So a real pain point is that post-diagnosis for a lot of people living with HIV, they get handed a pamphlet on what medication they're going to be given, but they don't get told anywhere where to go find support, speak to people who've gone through what they're going through. We're actually working with the Department for Health in the UK now, and effectively what we're trying to aim for is that post-diagnosis, you're handed a pamphlet on your medication, and here is Positive Plus One.
That would be great.
Mm.
And Peter Collins asks here, he loves your metrics. Can you see improvements in gross margin over time?
Yeah, so as gross profit margin in year 1 is 45%, year 2 64%, year 3 66%. That includes the 10% donation that we give to the charities that support the community as well.
That's great. So you can see where your growth's going to come from, and money in your pocket as well. Brilliant. Look, thank you very much. And before we move on, remind me, I spoke to a man. We were in London yesterday at Future Factory, and I was talking to a colleague from another startup we're working with, who's based in Munich, who was talking about finger prick testing for HIV, and then the blockchain, putting the results into a sort of a blockchain solution, which will allow people to get quick diagnosis, but also they saw a real potential then of using that within dating app environments. So remind me to make an introduction, because it's not often you don't have 2 conversations about the same thing in 2 days very often. So I'll make an introduction for you.
Perfect.
So
thank you so much. Thank
good.
everybody for thank you everyone for listening. All the best to everyone else.
Excellent. So now we're on across, I was going to say across the Pennines to the Lake District, but that's geography is completely wrong, isn't it? Sort of. For Northern Irishman, that'll do. Now we have Leanne, who has an AI solution for late payments called Intelligent Review.
Great, thank you. Right, wonderful. Thank you, everyone. Leanne Scott here from Intelligent Revenue. What we're working on is helping SMEs to combat late payments by monitoring their digital body language to predict payment behavior. Our big mission is to create a world where small business owners are dreaming up ways to innovate and not lying awake worrying about how to survive. Now, 88% of SMEs are worried about late payments, but what are they really worried about? They're worried about how often is too often to chase an invoice. Will it damage the client relationship? Will I look desperate if I try and get my money in? How am I going to make payroll this week if this guy doesn't pay? And how are we going to afford to grow if we can never predict our income? If all it took to get paid was a couple of reminder emails, we wouldn't have a worldwide problem and nobody would be lying awake worrying about it. But quite frankly, getting paid for the work that you've already done shouldn't feel quite so icky. But unfortunately, 87% of businesses are prevented from expanding as a direct result of late and unpaid invoices. And sadly, the problem's only getting worse instead of better. It's become an ingrained culture globally. So how big is the problem really? Well, 717 billion pounds is what it costs SMEs in late payments. And the equivalent of about 54 billion pounds has been written off each year, either from non-payment or payments so late that it actually makes no difference to the business. In terms of what that means for an SME, is that 4.4 billion pounds is actually spent trying to recover money already owed. And late payments are up 22% since the start of the pandemic. Here's an interesting thing that we found is that actually so much time is spent chasing money that you are already owed. If we could automate the process and give better insight, we could release up to 52 days on average in productivity. That's time that could be spent on fee earning rather than chasing money already owed. So we believe that we can significantly reduce late payments by 10% initially, charging about £360 per user per annum, as well as taking a turn of 1.2% on processed invoices. How do we think we can do this? We believe that we can challenge the antiquated rules of credit control and debt collection. Traditionally, it's kind of a hope and pray strategy, hoping that you're going to be paid on time. But we think if we make it acceptable for businesses to be proactive in their credit control, we can create a win-win-win for everybody, including the debtor. Because chances are they haven't paid their invoices because they haven't been paid. And so our ecosystem helps to solve your debtor's problem as well as your own. So what is the solution? In short, is a web app software that monitors digital body language and uses behavioral analytics and AI support to predict payment behavior. We'll evolve to leverage a deep learning algorithm that turns that data into actionable strategies. We integrate with Xero and QuickBooks, so it's not necessarily a replacement, but an enhancement of what you're already using in your day-to-day business. We think if we take this information and we decode and deploy the data in new ways, we can get really good insight into how people pay their bills. So using a payment portal, for instance, we've seen an increased traffic on of about 180%. And what it does for users is it empowers clients to self-serve. It alleviates the embarrassment because we all know, we've all been there, many businesses have been there. You can provide payment options, you can encourage two-way cooperation, and that way you can obviously have a better outcome. Examples of predictive behaviors that we're monitoring, or that we will be monitoring, is if you find that someone opens your invoices but doesn't open opens emails but not the emails containing your invoices, does that mean that he's not planning on paying? Or what if he repeatedly opens an email that contains an invoice but takes no action? Is that a sign and a time that you should then offer a payment plan because he's struggling to pay? So it's the case of he can't pay rather than won't pay. So how can we take this data? Can we benchmark it against behaviors across all payees, and then against an individual payment behavior, and then come up with a solution to offer to the SME owner? So what makes us truly unique is that we're looking at taking AI and using it in the decision-making process to support an SME owner. He's not necessarily reliant on gut feel, which is what we're all dependent on most of the time. You know something's going wrong, but you're not quite sure, so you don't want to do anything about it. And the way we do this is by analyzing payment behaviors and offering real-time feedback. And then the next section of what we would offer is embedded finance, which enables frictionless payments. Looking at the competitive landscape, there is no other solution that offers AI capability integrating behavioral analytics. And the few competitors that there are not doing what we're doing because their end game is the collections, the legal process. So there's a real opportunity here. Market size, having done a fair bit of research into this, we're aiming at SMEs with 50 employees or less, who raise multiple invoices a month, primarily in the services sector and construction sector. They seem to have the biggest issues. But in terms of total addressable market, we're looking at a market worth 144 billion. taking that down, right down to serviceable, obtainable market, we think 135 billion. We think we can achieve a 20% market penetration in 5 to 7 years. So what is our business model exactly? It's a traditional SaaS business model, looking at subscription fees. We charge per interaction because some invoices, you'll get it paid within the first reminder. Some of them, it will take 32 reminders before you actually see that money. And I've had that experience. It's not a figure sucked up the air. Legal escalation fees, we have an agreement and a platform partnership that we get 15% of all legal fees in debt collection that we refer, as well as the embedded finance piece of this program, where we get 1.5% fees plus merchant rebates. So what does that look like? We operate on a 75% gross profit margin, and we think that within 5 years, we'll be servicing 400,000 users. And the way we get that is by using our marketing channel, focusing on accountants and bookkeepers. They already have the relationship to talk about money and probably know more about what's going on in the business finances than the spouse of the business owner. And so they're able to provide this input and provide advice and recommend a service.
1 minute.
Got it. The traction that we're at the moment, we've raised 50,000 in private investment. We've secured some grant funding. We are going after an EIC grant. We've got R&D tax credits. We have a partner waitlist and a user waitlist. And in terms of roadmap, in April 22, we're working on monitoring and tracking. We're adding the embedded finance in June this year, and machine learning development planned for later in the year. We have a strong team. Most notable is Lawrence Walker, who built SSP, which is one of the UK's top software companies, resulting in an exit valuation of 207 million. He's been integral in helping to guide us, helping with our planning and fact checking, and obviously keeping my feet on the ground. We obviously there's lots of scope here to grow. I'm going into that because I've just told you where we're at, and that's kind of some good things that have been said about us, which all by ESC as well as Weaver. Any questions?
Brilliant. Thank you very much. It's great. So, and UK based and driven at the minute, with hopes to go to the States. Is that the plan?
It is. Some of the partners that have said they would like to participate are Canada based, and because they have a very similar system to us, quite an easy offer to them. As well as we've been approached by a US company who are interested in taking over or taking a license for the US, but we're not sure that's the right route to go just yet.
Okay. And is it strictly business to business, or do you see business to B2C as well?
No, business to business.
Okay. And no, do you think, is it sector agnostic really? Would this work for any company?
Yeah, it will work for any company. Primarily service-based companies, because it's not cash first. It wouldn't work for retail, but it does work very well for service-based deliveries and companies that work with 30-day, 60-day credit terms.
And then around the investment piece, are you looking for just money, or do you want skills or advice or opportunities with the money?
Skills and advice and money. Money, obviously, because we've got a big build, and we need some help on there. But from an advice point of view, it would be good to have someone who understands the startup and understands the SaaS approach, and especially because we want to go international. I think that advice is going to be really important.
Very good. Well, thank you very much. And I think, Jenny, you've shared the details in another question. Nope, brilliant.
Thank you very much.
And now, thank you. Now we move on to Jonathan. who's going to tell us a little bit more about TrustMix and how he can help you find good tradespeople. Isn't that right?
Yeah, yeah, a little bit more than tradespeople, but yeah, thank you very much, Michael. Just share my screen. Can you see my screen okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. My name is Jonathan Heavens. I'm the founder of TrustMix. Just a very brief background. My background is in finance. I'm a qualified accountant by trade, and I was the former finance director of a travel tech startup that we successfully sold in 2018, and I exited with vested share options end of 2019. I'm now the founder of TrustMix.io, which is a PropTech platform. So comparison websites and review platforms have revolutionized numerous industries globally, making it easier for customers to find and vet suppliers, products, and services. However, in the UK property industry, there is currently no directory or ecosystem that successfully connects investors, developers, and landlords with all the services that they need. So the solution is TrustMix, obviously. It's a PropTech two-sided marketplace, disrupting how people find, connect, and the crucial part is better assessing who to do business with. So if you think of how do we, like we're on a Zoom call right now, and you're trying to assess, is TrustMix a viable business to invest in? And it's all of those things that get you to a point of, yes, I want to make that decision. And that happens all the time when we're having Zoom calls or interacting with other businesses, or people message us. We're trying to be good judges of character, trying to make a good assessment of, is that something we want to do? And that's really the focus, and it underpins everything that what we're trying to do with TrustMix. So in terms of market validation, Checkatrade's a great example. They service tradespeople. There's 44,000 tradespeople listed in the UK. They pay between 60 and 120 pounds to be listed on the platform, providing homeowners with a route to finding who they want to hire. In terms of the property investment space, which is the space that we're primarily focusing on, they interact and connect largely on Facebook, on Instagram and LinkedIn. The largest property investment related Facebook group is upwards of 58,000 members. In addition to that, there's over 150 online and offline events that take place each month. And the reason why they want to network is to find recommended people, to build up their power teams, to get to learn advice, tips and guidance, and also looking for offering out an opportunity. And that really is going into what we're doing with TrustMix. From a market size perspective, you've got from the consumer side, you've got 2.6 million. So this is very TAM. 2.6 million private landlords. You've got over 200,000 buy-to-let registered companies in the UK. And in 2020, there was 65,000 buy-to-let mortgages taken out. This isn't taking into account cash transactions. And then on the service side, from ONS, there's over 500,000 property service related businesses directly and indirectly. And that ranges from your estate agents, sources, letting agents, to brokers, legal professionals, accountants, right the way through to photography, home staging, even virtual assistants for landlords. So our live product is, so last year in March, we did a closed beta, and then we launched our early MVP in August. And since then, we've grown to currently have 470 users on the platform. We've been mainly growing organically till now. So the TrustMix platform will be made up of 3 core areas: property directory, where people can search, find, and better assess; a property listings area, where people can post off-market listings for property and land; And I'll go into the real sort of USP and the core differentiator with TrustMix in a second. And then a community element. So it's mainly the advice, tips and guidance on getting people can go on and get answers to their questions. And that will lead into engagement as well, which will further strengthen the differentiator. So the USP is our TrustMix ratings algorithm. This is what makes us different. This is our core secret sauce. And it's an algorithm that I geeked out in. Obviously I love spreadsheets because I'm an accountant, and I created a rating algorithm that we've now got live. We've got an early MVP level rating system on our platform, and everything when a user signs up, everything that they update is verifiable, it's validated, and that contributes to enhancing a person's TrustMix rating. So things like recommendations, when we ask for referrals, I mean, that's very strong. But there's also other things like independently verifiable information. I'm an accountant, so ACCA, you could go to the ACCA website and fact check that I am. So we're integrating and being an aggregator of information. And ultimately, we want to provide somewhere where you can find the people that you want to find. You can assess whether they're any good. And also a way that you can contact them. Things like social proof, that also plays a part, even just by having a LinkedIn profile. If you went on my LinkedIn profile and saw that it was a week old, had like 3 posts and not that many connections, that would play into your assessment of who I am or a business, compared to if it was more enhanced. Whether you could see that it's a fully fleshed out, it's sort of aligned with probably what your LinkedIn profiles look like. So how do we make money? So right now up to this point, we are pre-revenue. To lower the friction, it's free to everyone. We're still a work in progress, and it was important that I wanted to get a live version out to get that customer feedback. That is absolutely at the core of what I'm doing. I'm eating, breathing, not sleeping, but I'm really connected with our community. And the plan is that from Jan 23, we're going to become a SaaS subscription model, shock. And so it's offering to those services, so similar to Checker Trade. And then it's going to continue to be free for investors, developers, and landlords as the consumers. In addition, when we launch the property listings side of things, then that is also opens us up to the per listing fee versus a monthly subscription. So market adoption. So what we've been doing today is organically growing with a very minimal marketing spend. So attending online and in-person networking events, doing more presentations, and growing our core supporter network. So I'm very much channeling Brian Chesky of Airbnb, of doing things that don't scale and building something that 100 people love, not 1 million people just kind of like. And it's really building out those core foundations. I did a little calculation the other day. I've already got about 80 people that are like really core supporters. They are dialed into everything that I'm doing, and and I'm starting to feel and see momentum in people saying, "Oh, Johnny, I was at a networking event and I overheard like 4 people just talking about TrustMix." I mean, obviously that makes me feel really happy. So you start to see that the cogs are turning on that traction, on that curve. And in terms of future focus for acquisition with funding, it's doing more of the same in addition to content outreach, SEO, all of that stuff.
Awesome, Jonathan.
Okay. So in terms of the team, so I mentioned about the startup, the previous startup we were at that we had a successful exit from. My team, Gary and Dan, they were also part of that team. Ironically, I trust them, so I was sat across the desk from them. So we're working on TrustMix over the last 12 to 15 months. In terms of an advisory board, so I've got Rob with background in finance, Startup to Stand Up, which is a community of advisors and other founders. And I've got a team of 2 marketing and 2 development resource. In terms of the ask, so we're looking for 18 months financing to reach 15,000 users and to reach the first quarter of $1 million of revenue. So I'm looking for 250K of pre-seed SEAS available funding on a 1.5 million valuation. And just an example, for every 5K paying users at an average of £25 a month, that equates to 1.5 million of revenue. I'm using funds currently. I've spent 40k self-funded to date, 3k predominantly on development, and your investment will be utilized to increase the developer hours on user acquisition, user verification, and hosting tools and other. And the bigger picture is the whole trust. The whole trust element is not just property and not just limited to the UK. Thank you very much.
Cheers, John. Thank you very much. Sounds great. And how are you finding second time round?
It's okay. I was so finance director. It's very much a supporting role, and it's always been sort of, I felt it in my blood to I wanna steer the ship, and I feel very confident, very happy in what I'm doing, and yeah, I'm having good fun. It's it's challenges, being a founder, but I'm loving it.
Excellent. And in terms of UK focus to start off with, and no international barriers to growth then?
I mean, there's in terms of like the verification process element of the rating system, because there'll be different compliance elements to so there'll be adjustments to make there. But there are definitely plans to do that, but it's also about the run before you can walk, and let's focus on delivering product market fit within the UK, and then that really opens us up to options.
And then in terms of your raise here as well, similar question asked earlier, is there any other expertise you need for your team to help build it out?
So an area that I'm most interested in focusing on is marketing, and we're really scratching the surface on. So whenever I speak to people, especially property related businesses, spoke to a roofer yesterday, a roofing company yesterday, and a letting agent and home staging. Whenever I speak to them, they're always on board, and it's just I'm just thinking like how much can we really we're just scratching the surface of what that is. So I'm in the process of getting on board a CMO. To really focus on strategically and also the tactical side of implementing the marketing strategy to really drive that traction.
Do you think you'll have any challenge differentiating about the other property platforms and the other, as you said, the trust pilots of this world out there? Do you feel there's space for another one? Well, you must do, but where do you fit?
So very much drawn like my finance background. I'm very analytical, and I go in on understanding pro con risk assessment, all those things, and I've really gone in on the competition, and the key differential is the rating, and it's about that core value of being almost money supermarket-esque, being that place that you go to, like, can anyone recommend a ... go to TrustMix? That's really our core USP.
Yeah, no, I think there's a real gap for it. There's nothing worse than trying to find someone and looking at stupid reviews on Facebook. You can't trust any of them at all.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's like, if you wanted to paint a bigger picture, like, yeah, there's no reason why we can't compete with Trustpilot, because reviews are really just one element of it. There's so much goes into our decision-making process, and that's why I'm really excited to see how our algorithm evolves.
Yeah, I think that's it. And also I think the difficulty with Trustpilot is the costs of actually embracing it properly are almost prohibitive to most companies anyway. Therefore,
exactly
tilted.
Exactly. I'm very strong with it not being pay to win. So it's in terms of our average pricing, which we are working through, but we really want it to be accessible. Also something that can be profitable and really be an attractive opportunity, but it's super important that you don't create that pay to win environment, because you just want to have the cream rise to the top. You can increase levels of quality and standards, so that's absolutely core as well.
That's brilliant. Well, look, thank you very much, John. I really appreciate that, and thanks to everyone else for your pitches. And we will be sharing this recording out as far as we can to help you get as much visibility as we can. We'll pass over to Jenny just to sum things up.
Yeah, I was going to say, everybody starts a round of applause. Well done, everybody. And that's one of the things I started doing this year is my 40th birthday year, and one of my call outs for my birthday gift is to ask everybody to give everybody else a gift. So I'm going to say today, it's not just about investment. If anybody in the room knows about customers, knows about suppliers, knows about connections that can help any of our companies, give them the gift of a call, give them the gift of a connection. It's not always about money. So we've got everything in the room today about fintech, we've got PropTech, we've got health tech, and there's lots of opportunities here to connect into our networks across Northern Ireland and into the UK. So if anybody can pick up the phone or pick up the Zoom or do a connection, that can be just as valuable as investment. So that's my ask for today. And thank you everybody for giving up the time on a cold and wet Thursday in February. Much appreciated. And as Michael said, we'll be chopping up the videos, so you'll have your individual video to share. You've got everybody's contact details there. So we have down the side, we've got Christian, we had Adrian on earlier, Jonathan and Leanne. So thank you so much, guys, for jumping on. Really appreciate it. And some great pitches tonight. So thank you very much for your time. Just want to finish up, see if there's any final questions or anything from the room, or lots of thumbs ups, lots of thank yous, and well done. We'll finish up there, guys. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Jenny.
Cheerio.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.